Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to take a look at this very cool, much older Safari LTD Carnegie Collection Amargasaurus. Amargasaurus is definitely one of my favorite sauropods of all time. It's such a unique, very cool looking species of sauropod, so different than most of the sauropods that you see out there. So I've always been really drawn to it because of it being so unique. So any day I get to review a Amargasaurus figure, it's definitely a good day. And this is actually one of my favorite Amargasaurus figures. I think this one is beautifully done and quite possibly one of the best versions of Amargasaurus that is out there currently. Well, I guess it's not out there anymore. It's been discontinued for a while, but it is still readily available most times on eBay, so you can usually pick it up for a decent price. And I must say it is quite worth it because the figure overall is a beauty of an Amargasaurus. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see that very horse-like face of the Amargasaurus is quite nicely sculpted out, quite beautifully presented here. Even the horse-like teeth of the Amargasaurus you can see right there, and they're actually painted quite nicely, surprisingly. You can also see the nostrils up here on the top of the snout of the animal, and one thing that is quite impressive is how much color variation you have in the head sculpt of this, because it's a very small head sculpt, and you can see numerous different colors. You have like a light gray, almost like a bluish color. You've got maroon, yellow, green, so there's quite a bit of paint variation included. The eyes are painted with a brownish color and given a black pupil with a little bit of a white spot to kind of insinuate eye shine. You can see that same deal on both sides, but the eye actually is glossed quite nicely, so they really didn't need that white spot for the eye shine, because I think the eye shine actually looks good to begin with. You can again see the nice detailing on this side of the head as well. You can also see kind of some hanging skin there in the throat region of the Amargasaurus, which is also sculpted quite beautifully, kind of got skin folds and everything included within to really show some of the movement of the Amargasaurus. As we start to lead down the neck, you can see some very nice skin texture becomes present, and I think they did a great job overall sculpting out the skin detail. You can also see the very trademark Amargasaurus spine start to pop up here on the top of the animal, and it has a very similar style of paintwork to the rest of the animal, where it has kind of like that, almost like a maroon color in the yellow, but you can also see like little hints of orange in there as well. So it does help to make the entire upper side, the spine type area of the Amargasaurus, quite flashy overall, but in a very naturalistic way. And you can also see that as we get to the tips of those spines, it tends to transition to a darker coloration to highlight the tips, but in, again, a very realistic way. The skin texture looks great as we move down the neck the whole way down. Once we get down here into the body, you can see the really nice shoulder blade there, and some more beautiful skin texture. You can also see the skin stretching off of the body in both the front and rear legs really nicely. The movement is shown quite beautifully, as well as a really nicely sculpted out elbow, really beautifully elaborated. We move down into the foot sculpt of the Amargasaurus, and it looks fantastic. The nail is painted quite nicely there, nice gloss coat given to the nail. There's no sloppiness at all to the nail of the front foot. Coming up into the body, you can see some really beautiful scales on the dinosaur. Fantastic skin texture the whole way through. Again, lots of movement shown as well. And the paintwork on this is really nicely done all over the animal, with a little bit of a dry brushing done in certain spots as well. You can see the scales get kind of very thick up near the top, up near that almost sail-like area of the Amargasaurus. And you can see the hip bone is quite nicely elaborated as we move down the rear leg. It's stretched and really kind of tensing the leg up quite beautifully, really nicely stretching the skin right there. The foot sculpt here of the rear foot also looks quite nice, and again the nails are painted with a gray, giving a nice gloss, and they do look quite beautifully done. As we come up here into the tail, again you can see a few different variations of green included within the tail, and then that light grayish blue type of a coloration here for the underside. It looks really nice all over the place, and we lead out the length of the tail to a really beautiful curve with kind of like a striping effect with some of that yellow and green here at the tip of the tail. Looking at the opposing side, again you can see how nice the head sculpt looks, and you can also see that same style of detail of the skin texture as we move down the neck. The beautiful detailing up here of the trademark Amargasaurus spines with the really nice paint. I actually do really like the paint job of this figure. I think that pretty much everything overall about this figure is quite beautiful. You come down the neck, down into the body, and you can see the shoulder blade pick up once again. You can also see the really nice leg sculpt of the front leg, and again the nicely painted nail right there. You can see how beautiful the skin texture looks all over the animal. Really nice movement shown right there from the skin, and then again right here and here you can really see just like the skin reacting to the way that the body is moving. Safari LTD has always done such a tremendous job on the sculpts of their figures. You can also see as we move up into the body, you can see numerous different variations of green, because you can see like the light primary green body color, then you have that color of green, then you have a darker color of green kind of creeping through in certain areas. So as far as skin tone goes, it also has a very realistic appearance in that department as well. You can once again see how beautiful this kind of almost like a sail-like appearance to this specific version of the Amargasaurus looks as we move down the body. You can see how nice the paintwork looks on that as well. And again, the body looks great, nice muscle tone here in the calf area, nice kneecap and foot sculpt here on the back. The nails are once again painted quite nicely. So really beautiful work overall. This is such a beautiful Amargasaurus. It's very sad that it's been discontinued for so long, being such a tremendous figure, but honestly, I absolutely love this Amargasaurus. As far as the size goes on this Amargasaurus, from the tail to the head, you were looking at somewhere in the 8.5-inch range, or around 21.5, almost 22 centimeters. And then as far as a height, it's not very tall. You can see it's just a little over 3 inches, or somewhere in the 8 centimeter range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, helping to show you that as far as this Amargasaurus goes, it is definitely on the smaller side. It's not super small, it's definitely nowhere near a mini or anything like that, but you can see it's somewhere in the Attack Pack size range as far as a Mattel figure goes. It's definitely a little longer, but as far as the body overall, you can see it kind of sizes up fairly well to the Colovosaurus, so a small figure but absolutely jam-packed with beautiful sculpt and paintwork. So this Safari LTD Carnegie Collection Amargasaurus, in my opinion, is definitely one of the most appealing and one of the best Amargasaurus figures that we have ever had as far as dinosaur figure collectibles go. We have had quite a few really nice ones over the years, like the PNSO version, but this one is just absolutely gorgeous, if you ask me. And if you actually put it next to the PNSO version, unfortunately I don't have that one here to display with this, but I think it could look like a very cool younger version of an Amargasaurus, as it has a fairly similar look to that figure, just not really in paint or anything like that. Being a smaller figure is one thing that is really good for the figure in a way, because it's something that can easily fit into any collection without even a remote problem. It's very thin as well, so it could probably quite easily slide between any of your dinosaur figures. So if you are looking for an Amargasaurus that has a decent size to it, but isn't going to take up too much room, this is definitely a great way to go. And again, as I had said earlier, this isn't that hard to find, I don't believe, anymore. It's definitely discontinued, it's retired, and it is rare, but it's not that rare. It's not that pricey. It doesn't fetch such a huge price tag as some other Carnegie figures do, so it is obtainable most times, so you could probably pick this up with a fairly easy eBay search, I would imagine. But honestly, the sculpt of the Amargasaurus, I think, is just beautiful. Everything on the figure just looks great as far as the minute detailing goes, and really portraying movement throughout the sculpt, and just the overall elegant beauty of this Amargasaurus, as it just seems to be strolling along. Doesn't look panicked, it doesn't look hurried. It just looks like it's walking along and enjoying its day, and I think it's a very nice, very relaxed pose for an Amargasaurus. I think the paint job as well is something that could potentially be realistic. Most of the paint looks pretty darn good as far as the way it's applied. Here and there you'll see an area with a little bit of too thick, I would say, of paint, like some of the yellow paint seems to be a little bit too thick, and even some of the paint up there on the spines of the Amargasaurus in like the sail type area has a little bit of like some too thick paint, I would say, but it doesn't look bad. And since the areas like that are so small, once you actually take a step back, you can really see how nice it does look overall, and you don't really notice the thickness of the paint application. But otherwise, I really feel like they did a great job on both the color choices and the application of the paint, And you also have a beautifully glossed eye. That's one thing that always sticks out to me when it comes to this figure, is just how beautiful the eye looks and how realistic the eye looks. It has an extremely lifelike appearance with an absolutely perfect gloss coat to it. So if you do want to pick this up, I will do my best to find a link in the description for you to pick this up on eBay, most likely, because you're not going to have too many places that are selling retired dinosaur figures, so eBay's probably your best choice. So make sure you check the description. I will include a link if I can find one. As I said, they're not normally too hard to find, so I should have no problem finding you guys a link to one. And also make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.